Hey guys, welcome back. In this video, we are going to create an application which performs CURD operation on Postgres DB. But this time, we are going to use WebFlux instead of a web. WebFlux is a reactive programming model where it will be a non-blocking thread model, and we are going to use R2DBC, which is reactive relational database connection, instead of our traditional JDBC connection. We are also going to use Spring Data R2DBC, where it provides the reactive relational database connectivity specification to integrate our Postgres using the reactive drivers. So this is what the actual R2DBC site is. You can go ahead and look through on all the documentation. So it provides the reactive stream specification, and we can work with the relational database. When you work with MongoDB, you could have seen that MongoDB has reactive features, but for relational database there is nothing, no drivers available. So now this R2DBC provides the reactive capabilities. It also provides scalable solution. It is a cloud ready. You can see it's cloud ready, and let's move ahead and create our first project. Let's head to spring.start.io. Here I'm just creating a maven project with a stable Spring Boot version in Java, and this is my artifact ID. I'm selecting 21, and main dependency are Spring Data R2DBC, Reactive Web for our REST API development, or Reactive Web API development, and a Postgres driver. As usual, we need this, and this provides the R2DBC driver as well when we are working with R2DBC, right? And then the Lombok that we will require for the entity getters and setters, and then we'll use the Spring Boot actuator. Let's download this. Okay, the project is now imported on IntelliJ. Now let's update the application properties with database connection details, right? So I'll just move this right here. So it was created as a property file. I'm just updating it as a YAML file. So now after this, let's take the R2DBC, and here let me provide the URL. The URL is going to be R2DBC database name is, and then I'm gonna give the username and the password, right? And I'm using my username as YTDemo, and followed by the password is YTDemo. Okay, and for this, if we start the application, we should see the application is running. Yep, the application has been started. It is able to connect to the database as well. So as a first step, let's create what I can do is let me create the entity that we need. So before that, let me go to the database and show you what table that we're going to hit. So we're going to hit this select the employee table. So this is the create statement that you need to because the R2DBC will not create the table for you, so you have to create yourself. So I just created the employee ID, and then the name, department, and I've just given the constraint, the primary key as well. So this is the table structure. So if you look at here, I have one row in it, and let me use the same and create the model object for this. Let me go to the entity, create a new class. I'll name it as employee, and you don't need to annotate this as an entity because it is not going to create any class data table for you, so you don't need that. So instead I'm just giving it like this, and it's going to be integer of employee ID, and a private string. We have a name, right? Name field. In private string department. Okay, so employee ID is gonna stay as the primary key, so I'll just have that here. This is good. And now let's create a repository. So as like the JPA repository, Spring Data R2DBC also provides the same implementation. Let me provide employee repository, and this extend. Okay, so this is going to be an interface, so let me update this as an interface, and extends R2 reactive CURD repository. So I'm going to use the CURD repository here. So this is going to use employee, and the ID is going to be of integer type. Okay, so this is going to provide all the JPA, if you remember, if you recollect the JPA method, so it is going to provide find by ID, and all those stuff it's going to provide to us. So you can go into the implementation and see that. And let me move ahead to the service, and we'll create a simple service. Let me name it as employee service, and this service is going to, let me annotate this as a repository. I forgot that. And let me go here, and then let me annotate this with a service, and let me create a service which picks all the data from get employees, get all employee. And so let me auto wire private final employee repository, and let me create a constructor parameter, and let me move it down. Okay, so get all employees going to return as a list of employee. Okay, so let me import it, and this is gonna be public. And okay, so I just put it as a list. As you if you have developed a REST API, a blocking REST APIs, or not a reactive REST API, then this would be the way that we will create. But this isn't reactive application, right? So in this case we are returning a multiple item, so in this case we have to use Flux, right? So Flux is an as a reactive, it is coming from the project reactor, you can see that. And if it is a single value, or if you are not returning any value, you can use mono. So I'm going to use return this dot repository dot find all. So this is going to return as so if you look at here, so this is returning a flux of employees. So this is going to be a list of employees to you in the reactive form. And let me go here and create a new controller. Controller name is employee controller, and let me annotate this with this REST controller. And we have to auto wire, so let me do private final employee service, and add it to the constructor. And now let me create a get mapping, and I'll also map this to request mapping. I'll map this to employee. Okay, so that all calls to employee will go here. Okay, so I don't think that we need a slash here, so this is okay. And here the get mapping, we don't need anything because we are just going to have a get towards this endpoint. Okay, so let me create public flags of employee, and get all, let me say this, and then this dot employee service dot get all employees, and this is going to return us all the list of employees. So let me restart this application and see how this works so that we can develop the other endpoints. Okay, the application is started. Let me go to the Postman and let me try to get the employees. So if you see here, so it is returning the list of employees from the database, right? So this is what is there in the database. So the ID is 3 and then the respective details. So if, let's create an endpoint to save the data, right? So let me create a endpoint right here in our application. So the endpoint is going to be of post endpoint, post mapping, and then public, and it is going to return a simple mono because it's going to return a single record of the saved employee, and let me save it as save employee, and at the rate request body, so it's going to be of employee, right? So we are going to get this as a mono, right? And then you can just apply the conversion on the employee itself. Employee, let me name it as employee mono instead of employee, and employee mono dot flat map. So it is gonna queue as the employee this dot. You can also do normal employee itself. We don't need to provide mono, that's up to your choice. Dot, like you just gonna pass it, right? So let me create a method in employee service first. Let me go here and create a method, save employee, public mono of employee. I have to import the mono here from the reactor, project reactor, and save employee, and it's gonna get employee as an object, employee, and then this dot employee repository dot save employee. So this is going to save the data, right? So let me go here and call the method save employee, and whenever we save it, right, what we will do is we will just map it and return the response back. We will do is employee entity, so we'll return it as a response entity of OK, so that we will know dot OK of employee, right? So this is what we will need. So we'll just convert this as a response entity. So this is going to be an employee object. So let me restart it and then we'll try to save and see how this works. The application is restarted. Let me go to here and then click on post, and this time I'll use a different name, and I can remove the employee ID, which is not required for save, and I use from infra, and let me try to send it now. See here, it is inserted. If you see that the employee ID is also incremented automatically, so if you can query it from the database, you can see the data is inserted, and you can go back to get, and then now you can get the data. See here, now we got 2 records out of that. So now we have implemented read and create and read. So let me create an update method which will update the data into the database, right? So let me go to the service layer and create a update method. So update, we are gonna so this update can also be used as a save. I'm just creating it for your reference. So let me create update mono, it's gonna return the same mono of response employee, and then update employee, and we are going to pass in the employee object again, and this is going to return this start. And now first what we are going to do, we are going to find by the ID that is retrieved from this say update payload. So if we find anything, let me say flat map of employee, if we find a data, right, and what we will do is we will return it, we will set all the data into that employee object, employee dot set name of employee dot get name, and similarly let's set mp dot set department employee dot get department. Okay, so now this data is up to date with the ID and the new data that we are passing in, right? And now we can do we can save this dot employee repository dot save of employee, right? This is the employee object that we have constructed. Dot switch if empty, you can return mono of void. Alright, and then like if you want to do anything, if this response is empty, then you can do it right here. So for now I'm just keeping it simple. Okay, so I consider that we have found the employee and we have updated it. If not, they will not be getting any response from here, so it will not go into this block itself, right? Let's go to the controller and just copy paste the same here, but this time this is going to be a put mapping, and we copy paste it, and this is going to be a put mapping now. And this is going to be the same, but I'll just say this as update, and this is again same thing. Let's update employee, remove the other things, and yep, that's it. And this time let me say I just want to return it as an employee object itself. You can do something like this, and you can remove this. So this will return you employee object, complete employee object, right? Let me save this. Let me also implement the delete so that we can see delete and update together. Let me create a new method, public mono. I think this time it's a delete, right? So you don't need to send anything, so you can just say void delete employee, and you need the employee ID, right? So we'll just name it as integer ID and return this dot employee repository dot delete by ID. I'm going to pass in the ID. So this is going to return as the mono void back. Let me go back to the controller. Let me say delete mapping, and whenever you call it with delete method, this is gonna get called, right? And for delete, I'm going to pass in the ID as in path variable. So I just mentioned it here, and mono of I'm just going to use the response entity again here, void delete employee, and in the path variable let me pass ID, integer employee ID. Okay, so so here also you can manage how you want to return the response. So let me say, right, let me do something like this. So let us find whether the ID present. If the ID present, we will return the response, or else we will not. We will return a not found response back, right? So what I'm going to do is this dot employee service dot find. um, okay, so uh, let me create find by ID in the repository class. So what I'll do is I'll just create a simple method which will find by ID. This is going to be like this. So let me create here. So it is going to be a find by ID, and I will pass in the ID integer employee. Let me say this as ID, and just update it as find by ID, right? So this is going to return you a mono of employee from here. And let me go here and find by ID. Let me pass in the employee ID. So if we find a response, then we will do a flat map function and use the employee and do it. And if not, we are going to return so as a default response, we can return response entity dot not found dot pull. Okay, so this is going to happen. And now in the actual functionality, we got the employee object, and now what we can do is we can let me remove this. It can be a one line. This dot employee service dot delete employee, and we can pass in the employee ID. And once this is done, dot, then you can do mono dot chest and then new response entity, because this is successful, right? So at this point this is successful. I'll just say this as a void response, void, and then the HTTP status code, HTTP status dot okay. So that's it. The delete is also ready now. Let me restart the application, and now we can just test out the data, whatever we have, whether everything is working or not in a reactive way. And in our future lectures, we will be making use of this application to compare the performance between the normal traditional REST APIs and this reactive REST APIs. Let me go to Postman. Now try to delete this employee 4, right? I just have to pass in a path variable 4, and let me delete and send. It sent 200. okay, means it is deleted. So let me send one more response to it. It says 4 not 4 because it's not found. Now let me try to get the list of employees. Now we don't have an endpoint like this. It should be get of employees. So we got the employees. So let me update this employee with let me append something here so that we can test out. Okay, so let me send this out, and now this it returned us the response, because here it is get. So let me put. Okay, so now it is saved. You can go to the database and check out whether it worked. Yes, of course it worked, so it saved it. So this is how you will create reactive REST endpoint, reactive CRUD application using Spring WebFlux, and we also made use of the reactive relational database connection using R2DBC. We will be comparing between WebFlux gRPC, and also our traditional REST APIs in our future lectures. Stay tuned. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and like.